Buenas, Viva Betnes, and we are live here on the Guam Legislature YouTube channel as well as Docomo and GTA for this Voices of the Village Community Caucus with the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts. And this Village Caucus meeting is called to order at 6:41 on Friday evening, Viva Betnes, Chamorro Standard Time. And we called this meeting for residents of the South specifically, but we're not limiting anybody. Inalahan and Malesso, I know we see some Gijetnia here, so thank you for coming out. And again, the purpose of this Voices of the Village Community Caucus is to bring the Guam Congress Hall out to the people of Guam. We understand that, there are many challenges you guys are facing, very busy, working, 2 jobs and the side hustle. So we want to bring your senators out to the villages to hear your concerns, issues, complaints, comments, praise. And again, I just want to start by thanking the residents of Inalahan and Malesso for hosting us here in beautiful Inalahan, Mayor Ernest Chargaloff and Mayor Ton Chargaloff. Of course, the Southern hospitality was on full display here in our welcome. So again, on behalf of the committee, we thank you so much. And I do want to recognize members of the 37th Guam Legislature here today. My right, we have Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Jesse Lujan, and to my immediate left, Speaker Therese Terlahi. And my name is Senator Chris Barnett, the chairman of the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts. We do have people signed up for testimony, and we're also going to hear from the Guam Police Department, Sergeant Paul Tapau. He's going to give us an update on some of the southern operations of the Guam Police Department. But we did want to start, since it is Voices of the Village, we did want to kind of kick off the meeting by hearing from the mayors of Inalahan and Malesso, the very hardworking mayors of Inalahan and Malesso, just to share their issues, goings on, and happenings, maybe concerns with their respective villages. So that being said, we want to start. I don't know if we want to start with Uncle Ernest first. We'll go ahead and start with Malesso Mayor, Uncle Ernest Chargaloff. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, senators. Good evening, Senator. The problem of going first is, you can follow after somebody and say, I echo their sentiments. Now I have to start, and I give that privilege to he's Chargalav, I'm Chargalav. So, anyways, the myriad of problems that we encounter down here. And I was at the hearing yesterday, the round table, and one of the main targets is the abandoned vehicles that they're left on the sides of the roads. And there's different times where, on different reasons why they're left there. I mean, some people left it because it broke down. And by the time they retrieved the vehicle, one night, no tires. The next night, they're sitting on blocks. People, should be aware that when they see vehicles, how can you have 4 tires gone with no witnesses whatsoever? These people, they come during the cover of darkness in the wee hours of the morning when people are getting ready to sleep or they're fast asleep. We need, like Sergeant Tapau, the neighborhood watch, we need people to be our eyes and our ears. That's the problem with the community, is that sometimes it's our own family or, that somebody we know. And it's also it's common knowledge that we all know the usual suspects. You also have people going around stealing produce. People that work so hard to plant those and watch it grow up, and when it comes to fruition, somebody benefits from it instead of the person that planted it. So to me, it's it's just a matter of the community coming together to respect one another. And if you want something, ask for it. Maybe that person will be giving to you and consider it that you don't have a job. But come and earn it. Don't just steal it, because you're not only breaking the law, you're breaking somebody's heart. I mean, all that hard work. And then when it's time to harvest, somebody else harvested, or not even a second invested in the harvest and the planting and watching it grow. So even from abandoned vehicles to all the home invasions. I was telling my primo Ricky Meno that the neighborhood watch is only as good as the neighbors. When you see somebody that is not from that area, everybody should come on and let them know that they're being watched. Because thieves, they don't like when witnesses are there because they can be identified, and then the police have an easier job because they have witnesses. But the problem is sometimes their hesitancy to testify or bear witness against those individuals because for one thing, maybe it's a friend's son or a friend's daughter or they're related in one way or another. But if you continue to allow them to do what they're doing, you're just enabling them to continue in their destructive ways. And one day they're going to get caught, and hopefully they get caught instead of an irate resident who retaliates by using the machete or a gun. But this is what we experienced down there. Mauricio, Maresua, Nalan, Humata, we're all closely knitted. I think this is where, in the South, where Adam and Eve started when they go forth and multiply. We're all related in one way or another. So I think just taking care of the problems amongst ourselves, speaking amongst ourselves, and trying to promote goodwill amongst our residents. But sometimes, yeah, people who are, like I said, the usual suspects, and they should try to work and earn the money. And that's pretty much the problem I'm having down there. Angel Sablan said they're barbecuing with the cars down there. I have some like 6 barbecues I have so far. So they drag it out there, put it in the side of the road, and then they burn it. And after they steal everything they need. So this is pretty much what we need to do is just work amongst ourselves and to have a peace of mind, tranquility of mind that your home is safe, and that your streets are safe, and our kids are safe as well. So I don't want to take up too much time because I'm running out of English words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ernest. Mayor Tony Chargaloff in Alahan. Chargalov. Are you Chargalov or Chargalov?
Laugh. And I want to say, in behalf of the people in the lawn, we welcome each and every one of you here, Speaker, Senator Barnett, Senator Hahn, Senator Brown. We want to thank you all for taking the time out on a Friday evening to be here with us to hear. Of course, it don't look like we have a lot of numbers, and that may be a good indication that perhaps maybe we don't have those problems. But the truth be told, in the lawn, people just like Malesso, despite having some of the issues, some of them are very silent in a lot of these things. So, of course, we do have our issues here, and let me just share some of what some of the parents have texted me that couldn't be here tonight. One of them is a Southern High field. So right now, I've actually even helped them. We went out and solicited for solar lights, and they're going to install the solar lights just so the athletes playing on the field at least can have some sense of peace, knowing that it's not going to be totally blacked out. So I'm not sure, and maybe perhaps Senator Barnett, being that you're part of the DOE group, that you can actually find out what is going on with that. I'm not sure if the lights are beyond repair at this point, or are they in fact just some simple fixes. But nonetheless, it is causing an issue with some of the residences that are living here in Ilahan, whose kids or grandkids are participating in sports over there. The one thing I have to say is this: I've been advocating for Ilahan to have a police station. There is no police presence on the east side, not necessarily the police cars. I'm talking about a police station. I have even offered to use this office as a satellite office for the police department to come by, stop, write their tickets or whatever, put the reports together or what have you. I think, we're doing everything we can here in Ilahan to try to improve the attitude, improve the safekeeping. Of course, you guys witnessed coming down here perhaps that the village is pretty clean, well-maintained and all that. So that's an effort by our office, and we're trying to instill some sense of pride to our community, some sense of positive attitude. But having the police presence here, I know there's talks about a potential build of a police station over in the Talifofo area. Unfortunately for me, I don't see that would be the right place, particularly because they're not on a major roadway, unlike, Inalan or Malesso for that matter, We're literally right along Route 4. So having that police presence here would definitely, I want to say, assist. And I have to give a big kudos to my neighborhood watch chief, if you will, Rick Meno, who's very, very keen on trying to, reduce our crime rate here. We don't quite have a crime rate that's exponentially out of control. But we do have some of those, and we're trying to do our due diligence and trying to see how we can minimize that. So again, those are only the two real pressing. I know there's a lot of issues at DOE, and I'm glad. I want to say that I'm very glad to know that the 37th Guam legislature has really come together as a group and stirring up the pot and really trying to bring out all the dirty laundry. And of course, Senator Barnett, you've mentioned many times, hey, we got to say some of the things that we're not comfortable with. And so with that said, I appreciate the fact that the efforts going on, not just you, but amongst all the the senators within the 37 legislature really want to kind of provide solutions, provide remedies to a long-standing problem that we've all gone through. And so again, right now it doesn't sound like a lot, but the lights at the field over at Southern High seems to be a major priority amongst the parents. And I'm also hopeful that some of the folks here from our village are able to come up and, like I told them, hey, today's not a bitching session. You can actually praise if there's praises. And we also, but again, just knowing that you guys took the time to come down here, be with us here tonight, means a whole lot to us, because very far and few between have we are able to sit down with the senators and be able to, unfortunately, we don't have the numbers here, and I'm sure that may be a good thing, right? That may be a good thing that they're not here tonight because they're pretty comfortable at the work that's currently going at your levels. And as a mayor here, I appreciate the fact that you guys really surrendered us Friday night. I'm sure there's probably fundraisers going on right now that you were all invited to, but you chose to be here. So we appreciate that very much, and I want to say thank you, not just for me, my wife, my mayor's staff, the MPC council members, and the entire Inland community. Thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Chargaloff, and also thank you, Mayor Chargaloff. I'd like to, at this time, turn it over to my colleagues if they had any questions, starting with Speaker Terlai.
No questions, but wanted to say thank you. And thank you, of course, for your hospitality tonight. Thank you for being here and being concerned, and to also hold us accountable for the work that we need to do for you. And I want to thank both of you, mayors, particularly, and your staffs for the work that you've been doing in the villages. It's very obvious, and I'm very grateful. So, situs masi.
Thank you. I want to just point out that I know you mentioned about our hospitality. Here in Ilahan, we try to feed you so much, so we try to kill you with our hospitality.
Yeah, it works, Mayor. After that tactic, I don't know how many questions I have left to me. Senator Joanne Brown.
Hello, good evening, and certainly thank you as well for hosting us. It's almost like the Brothers Chargaloff. I'm waiting for you to come out in song, but I think we all agree in our community, and certainly those of us that have been here, grew up on Guam, we've seen the changes, and some of them have not been very good. And I think our sense of community and our sense of safety and well-being in many ways have been threatened. And a lot of that rebuilding has to happen from the ground up. And I know in your respective villages, you show what Guam in many ways used to be. And that's a very good thing. I don't look at the past as, that's behind us. I think there's a lot of good values that we need to reinstill in our community and our young people. Respect. When you think of our language and someone says, "Ay, de goftai respeto ho," you're like, ooh, the fact that that's a phrase is something we should be concerned with, because we say that more than we say you're being respectful. And I just think there's some things in our community that we just can't say we're fed up. We got to do something about it. And if it's things we need to do to address the laws, if there are things we need to strengthen, if there are things we need to support so we can lift up our community, We need to do that, but we need to do something different because the processes that have happened in the recent past are not getting us to, at least in my view, and I don't know, Maris, if you share it, a better place. I mean, I feel more unsafe now than I've ever felt here, and we were kids that used to grow up and get on the bike and go anywhere in the village, and that's before the cell phones. And we knew that if we misbehaved, our parents would know about it before we got home, and we'd have something to deal with. And nowadays, we just don't have that sense of comfort anymore. And we shouldn't. I mean, this is home. We're a small island. We should be able to have the quality of life that our people desire, especially for our elderly, for them not to feel safe to work all these years and not have any comfort in their own home at night. There's something wrong with that. 'Cause, I was thinking we put ourselves in jail at night. You got the shutters, you got the fence, you got the camera, you got whatever, the alarm system. And we have to close ourselves up because we're not safe anymore, and that's just not how we should live. So we certainly appreciate the direction that you're investing in your village, and the opportunity to engage and have this dialogue, I think, is a very important part of getting us to where we'd like to be. So thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Lujan?
Thank you, Senator Barnett. Thank you, Mayors, for the invite and warm hospitality, as well as for the residents here tonight. Mayor, I just want to address some of the concerns that you have here, and I think it's really workable in some of these instances. I know recently you had asked for a boat ramp for the emergency situations and all that. I remember years back in previous legislature that we cut the ribbon for the fire station, and that was funded through CDBG grants from GURA. That was the previous legislature had the oversight of GURA and housing. I don't sit on that committee right now, but we can find out if there will be funds available to be able to not only, in the same situation that build your fire station, can also maybe subsidize to be able to build a precinct or a Coban type thing, and also piggyback and probably, if we get imaginative, we can probably put that together with a boat ramp, and working the two of them together, not separately, but one, it's one project basically, and in the sense that again the arguments of course were for emergency situations they would have to launch from Agate to be able to get here, or Malesso. And that's just, Malesso's down the street, but it's too far when in an emergency situation. So let me check on that. I don't sit in those committees, but I'm familiar with the grants that they have, and I'm hoping with this administration, the Biden administration, that there's a lot of money being poured into infrastructure. So I'll check into that and see that we can put those two things together and again help your community out with that as well. One thing you talked about, of course, the problem situation down here in regards to the crime and all that. What is your drug situation like down here? We hear about it and we read about it, but a lot of times they don't say where they're, what villages they're from. But what are your drug situations down here?
Well, at least for Inalon, I have to say that we kind of know where these houses are at, and we, through collaboration with the GPD, at this point, doing heavy monitoring, and I believe as 2 days ago, they actually did one arrest. And so we are very small community, like Mayor Ernest had alluded to, and so we know where the problematic areas are, and for us, I'm very fortunate because as of last week, we've had some level of commitment from GPD, particularly Officer Wolford, that reached out to me and wanted to meet and disclose where these areas of concern are. So they're heavy monitoring now, and I'm hoping that we can actually rid our village of drugs. And I know it's going to be a tough battle, but nonetheless, I stand committed to making it come to fruition where we can actually become a drug-free. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the environment that we're trying to create, where it's very positive here in our village. And we're hoping that becomes a deterrent from them to wanting to be a part of this community if they in fact wanted to continue on with the drug activity that's currently going on. I know it is a crisis situation right now. I believe Inalan is not at that level where, you know, every other household is tied to drugs, but I'm sure and I'm 100% certain that there are folks here that are involved with that, and it is my every intent to get rid of them. As a matter of fact, when the marshals called me up wanting to do an arrest, I would literally escort them right to where they live or their last known address, because it is, to me, sometimes that's what our people need, is they need to be incarcerated long enough to be able to understand that what they were engaging with is definitely leading them down the wrong path. So of course, we're gonna do everything we can to try to rid and I'm also hoping, I am depending a lot on our community to become the voices and let me know where these problematic areas are. Like I told one of the new constituents here, they say, hey, how long does if you dial 911, how soon do they get here? I said, well, if you call me first, because around here I'm considered 911 and I'm willing to respond right away. Thank you.
Yeah. Mayor Chagalov?
You know, Senators, it's sad because, you know, some of the people that are running around doing drugs are family and friends, and what draws them to the drugs is the addiction potential it has. You know, when take it once, it's not going to be a problem. You take it repeatedly, that thing is going to grab you, make you dependent on it, and then you end up stealing from your own brother, your own father, your mother, your sisters, and your family and friends. And, you know, it's not because it's your conduct to steal, but it's the need to satisfy your craving for that drug. And once you get addicted, man, you either, like Mayor Ton said, incarcerate them, not only to let them understand why they're in there, but it's one way of cleaning them out as well. You know, as long as they're out there, they're dependent on it, and as soon as they find money to buy it, you know, they're not trying to cleanse themselves of the addiction. So I think, like you said, it hurts because you know that they're family and friends. They're not that at all bad. It's just what they do that drives them to those things. You know what I mean? When you're addicted, believe me, you want to get your craving satisfied.
Sure.
And if you don't have the means to provide for your habit, somebody's going to pay for it. I mean, some people work for it. They won't steal. But some people, it just drives them to that point where they need to address their addiction. And one way is incarceration, unless drugs are being smuggled in. But one way is if they want to go in there and voluntarily clean themselves out. But it is a problem. It's not just in Molesto, in the lawn, it's almost everywhere. You know, so I think as far as, you know, when you do get caught, I have arrested him. As a matter of fact, I hired him, and he's proud to say that he went through the Lighthouse recovery. He went through a lot of the rehabilitation process, and he cleaned himself out. And when he asked me, man, Mayor, he's not even indigenous or you know, a resident who grew up in Minnesota. He was transplanted into the village by virtue of in-laws. But I gave him the opportunity. I mean, even if you're not originally from Molesto, you live in Molesto, you're my resident. So I gave him the opportunity, and unfortunately, he had to relocate back to the States. But it's one way to give them the opportunity. I mean, you know, if you take the time to clean yourself out, you know, it's going to help. Yeah. And nobody can clean yourself but yourself. Yeah. You can be given all the advice you want and you need, but if you don't take it upon yourself to cleanse yourself, it's not going to happen. So I just need to reiterate that, you know, the incarceration and possibly treatment. I mean, you know, but they've got to want to clean themselves out, because otherwise it's not going to work. Yeah. That drug is too powerful to let them go. Once it grabs out of you, it's going to be hard to do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, one other comment. One other comment I'd like to make as well with this is, your needs, of course, you said your boat ramp and of course, the police presence, or whether a precinct or whatever you may call it, a smaller version of the precinct. But we can't forget as well, because
I wanted to build a boardwalk on top of those boulders and allow for tourists to park and walk along the boardwalk all the way up to the Inland Pool. If you come to Bear Rock, I wanted a QR code to be put there so that when people take a photo of it, they're able to understand what Bear Rock is. Take a walk on that boardwalk, and I know the numbers is going to cost about $1.5 million. I've done already some research on that. 1.5 to put on solar lights, street lights along those paths. It's supposed to do several. Of course, it's going to serve the tourists, but primarily for Inalahan, that has been a walking path for so many people living here in Inalahan. Unfortunately, the roadway, the walking path, is very limited to any speeding cars. Even a drunk driver would automatically hit one of the walkers, right? So the whole vision is to walk from the Bear Rock Bay, come to Inland Pool, take a QR code, learn everything about that, walk up to the San Jose Church, do a QR code, read about the history of that church, take a walk to Gef Pago. From there, you can do a QR code, read everything about Gef Pago, walk to the Chief Gado, do a QR code, get on a golf cart, and we take you over to Chief Gado Cave. Again, doing that QR code, learn everything about Gado's Cave, get on a little jet ski or a boat, and it'll take you right back to Bear Rock Bay. That is what we are calling the Inalahan experience. So imagine that. If that comes to fruition, that will not only allow for a quick stop at the pool, that will allow for our tourists to stay back, learn about what's going on here, learn about the scenic spots that we have. But again, it's going to take some time, it's going to take some money, but that's a vision that I have. So again, to expound on the boat ramp, just last year, I participated in a ceremony. The individual was not from Inalahan. Unfortunately, he passed away over at Surfside Bay. And so we helped out, we assisted, we provided the family that was grieving a canopy, tables, chairs, cooler of water, whatever we could do to help them with their services that happened out there. But I've witnessed this over the years, the course that I've been a resident of Inalahan, that we have lost many lives as a direct result of not necessarily slow response, but definitely delayed response as a result of having no entry into the water on the eastern shoreline. There is zero entry point to address distress, boaters, or swimmers. And that's why I'm really pushing for this boat ramp. So if you're not aware, I want you guys to know, GIDA had provided a 30% design submittal and transferred that design submittal over to DPW in hopes that they move that 30% to a 60% to a 90%. And so the initial cost with no bells and whistles would come out to the tune of $1.5 million. Having all the bells and whistles where you're able to tie off your boat overnight for an extended period of time, it's going to cost $4.5. At this point, I'm not after the bells and whistles. I'm really just looking for the $1.5. Primarily because I have witnessed firsthand distress, boaters and swimmers that have literally, passed away. It's a direct result of the response. And we mentioned earlier that Malesso will become the nearest point of entry for any rescue vehicle to come in. It is sad if we build, for example, a police precinct up in the village of Talafofo, having to pass Surfside, go all the way down to Malesso to enter, only to work its way back up to Surfside. So again, if you understand the complexity, Surfside is a very frequented area, literally every day. So the potential for any incidences or accidents to happen is very high. So by taking this proactive approach of implementing and building a boat ramp will resolve a lot of that. It will not only, for me at least, I want to say, or even for the people in the lawn, it will provide a peace and calm, knowing that we're able to respond at a moment's notice should any situation arise. So again, I'm speaking hopefully that there is no more incidences, but rather than waiting for one to happen, I like to be proactive and build a boat ramp immediately. Thank you.
Mayor Ernest, tourism in Malesso.
Oh, Senator, the Japanese tourism is down at this point. Mostly tourism comes from Korea. So, comes from there. Thank you. So, it used to be arigato because I'm a stat. I don't touch my mustache. Now, now it's, it's only because of the COVID. But I'm waiting on a grant that is going to fix our dock at our Modesto Pier. And just recently my guys painted that because I had it dedicated as the Modesto Veteran Sons and Daughters Pier Park. So I had my guys paint all the lattice stones alternately red, white, and blue to signify, the significance of the park. That is dedicated in honor of our Modesto veterans. Because, almost every home in the village has a veteran in the ranks, so it was a very noble and honorable gesture to name that. The pier is very frequented every Saturday and Sunday, even Friday nights. And my guys go down there. That park used to be under Parks and Rec. When I came in 2009, I worked with the former speaker, Judy Wampat, and she came to my office in March asking me what do I want for my video. I said, Senator, Speaker, I would like to get that park under my administrative jurisdiction and control so I can bring convenience to my people. This is a park that's in our village. If we want to make reservation, we have to drive all the way up to Agani Heights, I think the convenience should be with our people, although the park belongs to the people of Guam. It's in our village. I don't think we should be inconvenienced to drive all the way up to Agani Heights to actually use the park. If they put it under my care, you don't even have to drive into my office. A simple phone call will get you a reservation. I don't even charge, for deposits whatsoever. I just ask that you clean up after yourself. And with Parks and Rec, you have to pay a deposit. That happened to me where when I came in, I placed drums. I had a co-worker, I retired from the public defender. My co-worker's husband was the president of Shell at the time. So I asked her if she can ask the husband to give me the empty oil drums so I can open them up and use it as trash receptacles at the park. So even without having jurisdiction of the park, my guys will go down there and clean out the park every Friday in anticipation of the weekend use. And then Monday after the weekend's use. And I didn't even have obligation or responsibility to clean that park. But it's going to affect the image of our village. If it's dirty, it's going to be, make our village image dirty. That grant, once that pier is fixed, it's been 20 years, I believe, since it was first repaired. And, the engineering could be an engineering marvel. It could also be an engineering blunder. I think just to cut costs and minimize the expense, they made the boards lay down instead of standing up. When you stand the board up, it's a lot stronger than if you were to lay down because there's a lot of resistance to weight. At the same time, it's not going to decay as easily, get waterlogged as fast as when you lay it down. You have a wider area to have it waterlogged. So down at Modesto, it's like Mayor Ton said, tourism is not just from the airport down to Tuman. I've been to Japan. Who wants to go into a concrete jungle? They've been there already. They want to come down and experience the southern part, which is the most pristine and the most beautiful part of the, if you're judging by concrete jungle, I don't think we can compare to one. But if you talk about pristineness, just driving down here, just the tranquility of the drive. You're going through a vegetation, not concrete jungle, but jungle vegetation. that's what the tourists, they want to come down to see our pristine waters, clear, pristine waters. You cannot have that in Japan. It's brackish. So, we used to have the tourists can go down there. But now, because of the COVID, a lot of people, the tourists are not there. But Koreans, they do the same. And I'm sure they have concrete jungles in there too. So, but a lot of them are like live in the country. They're okay. They're okay. But the facilities, if I can get funding, I never asked for funding. Because when I asked for the administrative jurisdiction, Mayor, so we assume you're going to ask for funding. I said, if it's going to hold it hostage, I don't need the funding. I've always been cleaning it without funding anyways. But it would help if at least every year do an appropriation so that we can upgrade. Like Mayor Thorne said, he wanted to build a boardwalk. All I wanted to do was lay concrete over the boulders along the shoreline. I already reached out to EPA and Coast Guard, and as far as and even EPA, the Army Corps, and they said as long as I don't touch the water, I don't need any permit from them. So, if anything, if I had the money, I can put that up. I already put a concrete slab on one of the boulders, but if only I could get funding that would complete that. Do a facelift and make it safer to walk on level concrete slabs than to walk on uneven, slippery boulders, and especially when it gets wet, all the mold, the mule. So if you senators find it to promote the island, the southern place, the southern villages is where we can start, because this is the draw of the tourists, not Tuman, not in the central down here. I used to take pride before my primo and sobrino came in. I used to be number one down here all the time. But when they came in with Mayor Bada, sometimes I'd come. So number one with Bada, number two. Then Bada will be number one, I'm number two. Now I'm a distant third to the two of them. That's, So it hurts when, you get succeeded. And fortunately, it's my last term, so, I cannot compete. So they're a lot younger than I am anyway. So, but I really admire, and I talk about my colleague here, that he's probably the hardest working and most aggressive mayor at this time. I used to be, but I'm too old already. So. But anyways, senators, if you can find it in your hearts and your aspirations to help my colleague here and myself, which is and Umatak for that matter, we are the draw of the tourists. The southern, we're the coastal. Malesu and Inanana is the only place where you can dive off irregardless of the tide. High tide or low tide, you can jump into the water. You can't do that in Tuman. You can't even walk. You can't even swim in Tuman when it's low low tide. Down here, Malesu and Nanan and Umatak, you've got all that pristine water, clean water. So please, if you have the opportunity to give us some money down here, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayors, for your testimony. Is there anything else you want to add? Go ahead, Mayor.
Sorry, I have literally 100 things I want to talk about, but I'm only going to
Mayor,
talk about
take your
one.
time, please, because I know, and just for the record, I want to say it's a little different down in the south because it's not like a Dedido where, a Dedido resident could go, the whole year and maybe not run into the mayor, right? Because there's so many residents down here. I know all the residents know who both of you are. When they see you guys, they talk to you all the time, and so I don't anticipate it's going to be like the North where you have the residents coming up to testify. I know that you guys are representing a lot of their concerns, but we do hope to hear from some of the people who are here tonight. But go ahead, Mayor, take your time, please.
Let me say two more last things. And full disclosure, my mom is from Maleso, so definitely I have some Maleso ties. So when I speak, I hope that I'm encompassing both villages. But as you know, we do have a Gef Pago here. Unfortunately, there's been zero activity since the pandemic. And unfortunately, some of the folks that were actually actively engaged with that have passed away. So I'm currently at this point in conversation with them in hopes that, if they're not going to move any forward, that they're going to transfer that over to the Inalahan Mayor's office. But here's the vision. In Inalahan, and not to put Malesto to the side, but in Alahan, there's a lot of potential entrepreneurs here. I mean, there's a lot of great cooks, whether it be empanada, whether it be donuts, whether it be whatever, right? There's a lot of opportunity to stimulate an economic activity within this community. What is withholding these people back from running a full-fledged cooking business is that they don't have the means to retrofit their homes to make them become compliant with both EPA and public health. So the vision I have for Jeff Pago, is I wanted to build a community kitchen. That kitchen cost is right around $300,000. The intent behind it all is if we were able to build that, then all these potential entrepreneurs can be an umbrella to this Jeff Pago kitchen. We want to retrofit it enough to where all these individuals who have problems trying to get a permit, trying to get license, will all fall under this umbrella. Right now, a lot of them are selling their products right along the mom and pop stores in Alahan, and we only have like 4 here. But imagine the potential to benefit that family if they're able to go beyond the borders of Inalan into Talafofu, Jotne, all up to Derrido, whether it be selling empanada, Kelagwin, or whatever we do here. And there's a lot of them here. And I know this firsthand because my daughter, who wanted to run a simple shave ice business, we were told by EPA, Public Health, that I literally need to put an enclosure into my garage to make it a kitchen that can be, so they can pass it, right? That's a $10,000 investment for a business that we're not even sure if it'll be successful. But that's the kind of challenges, and this is my daughter who's a lot younger than me, but is being posed that challenge up front. So imagine how many other people here have gone to that path of trying at least to do something to sustain the welfare of their family, but are being told at the public health doors, EPA doors, that you need to become compliant. And it's sad to know that, these are being challenged, right? We're being challenged so much. It's almost like you need to have money to make money. And you almost need to spend money to earn money. And so that's just one big issue that I'm hoping to be able to tackle. I'm working with several people with this conversation, and I'm hoping that I'm able, and if not, then I definitely would come to your doors and have a sit down in the legislature and ask for assistance with this regard.
You want this to be an incubator, right?
Yes, so much like the Chamorro Village, where that was an incubator for all these startup businesses, and eventually, which brings to mind, Jamaican Grill was supposed to be a startup. They're still there. I hope they're paying 10 times over what is the expected rate of everybody else, right? But nonetheless, yes, that's what I wanted, was an incubator opportunity, primarily with cooking, and that's why we provided a lot of food, because we wanted to show you guys that people here can cook. We just need to get them licensed or permitted, right, to be able to expound and open up a business, right? But anyhow, the second issue that I have right now, and I've been struggling with this for literally, 2 years, 4 months now. We have Inalan is a historic district with a lot of historic homes. In working with Guam Preservation Trust and the SHPO, I've had countless meetings with them, trying to find the ways, the means, to be able to rehabilitate, renovate, repair a lot of the current homes that are here right now. Unfortunately, they're always budget driven, right? So of course, if you only get $200,000 this year, and the cost to do the house is $225,000, guess what? I gotta wait until they build more monies to be able to address this. We talk about tourism. Just today, if you were not aware, the historic parks built an application that's built into your phone. You can download the app. And in Alahan, I believe, is the first to pilot this, but there's a geocaching app that's built strictly for Alahan. And we did a test gauge today with the Alahan Middle School. 90 students came down and participated during their during their school hours. And it led them to the San Jose Church. It led them to the Chief Gado. It led them to some historical homes. It led them to Jeff Pago. And so, with that said, I wanted to say that there's an opportunity for Inalon to thrive without having to constantly go to the legislature. Because the way I look at it is this: if we're able to stimulate an economy within Inalahan, then where would we go? We don't need any more help from anybody, right? And so likewise, like I said, if we're able to stimulate an economy within, be able to provide those opportunities, then of course crime is going to be expected to literally decrease or be gone forever. Because when you have a thriving group of people living in a community, being allowed the opportunities to survive, then I don't think anybody's going to be wanting to steal from one another, right? And so that's something to think about. But I want to throw this out here. One last pitch at this is that I wholeheartedly believe that if the legislature can somehow figure out how to allow $52,000 per village, that literally is $1,000 a week. What that can do, and that 52,000 along the 19 mayors will come out to $1 million. So an additional $1 million appropriation divvied up amongst the 19 mayors at 52,000 would allow for an expenditure of funds at $1,000 a week, right? What I envision there is that we have displaced, least fortunate families that perhaps want to make money, and we can have them doing it the legal way. And my proposal is that if we're given 52,000 divvied up by 52 weeks, that's $1,000 a week. I want to be able to give a family $1,000 a week, of course on a rotating basis, and allow for them to pick up the trash along the road, maintain the village for one whole week, pick up the trash along the path. And so at the end of the week, they get the $1,000. They become better because now they're able to go and get whatever it is that they need. It could be luxurious items, it doesn't matter. It could be necessities. The point I'm trying to get at is we're infusing money back into the people that need it the most, but they're not going to get it for free. They're getting it. They're going to have to pick up trash, help clean the village, right? So I don't know, but that's kind of like I think that'll be a solved problem with regards to our littering amongst along the island. It can even get better. Is that if we allow to have a cash for trash program? Wouldn't that be nice when we know that people that want to go out there and make some money, go out there and pick up trash? It'll be kind of funny, but potentially realistic when you wake up in the morning and the call that you're getting is, hey, Mayor, somebody stole my trash. And that's probably because they want to turn it into the mayor's office for some cash. Wouldn't that be a good problem when people are stealing your own trash? Imagine waking up in the morning and your whole trash bag is missing. That's because they were aggressive enough. But really think about it. It's kind of humorous, kind of funny at this point. But really, realistically speaking, these are the people that need those the very people that I'm targeting with this proposal are the very people that's robbing from us. Well, let's give them an opportunity to clean the village, steal trash from my house, and be able to put monies in their pocket. Imagine, at $52,000, $1 million, I think that's a very small investment for what a potential it has to effect on our entire island. And of course, it's going to definitely boost our tourism, right, in terms of their walking away. And you know where that money can be funded from, by the way, in case you're wondering? It'll be coming right from our incoming passengers. And I'm saying, as a resident here, senators, I'm willing to pay whatever the cost may be, $10 per arrival. Every time you come in here, everybody landing here has to pay a $10. I know in Palau, I used to pay a $10 departure fee. This thing, you're now going to pay a $10 destination fee. And if we can accrue 1 million, then I can assure you that the visitors here, the visitors to our island are going to see a very clean island and be able to walk away with that lasting image in their minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Chargaloff. Thank you, Mayor Chargaloff. Chargaloff. Thank you, Mayor. Very great ideas. The notebook is full. Thank you. Let's give our mayors a big round of applause. Mayor Tony Chargaloff, Mayor Ernest Chargaloff. Biba Inalahan, Biba Maleso. Thank you. Okay. At this time, we're going to hear from, can we also recognize Sergeant Paul Tapao of the Guam Police Department? Sarge, do you want to come up? I know the food is getting to him a little bit, but Sergeant Tapao is going to give a little update on the Guam Police Department and their southern operations. And we also are, if we could get Sil Timinglo, Malia Castro, and Victor Duenas, Mr. Victor Duenas up here at the table, and we'll go ahead and hear a testimony from these three. Come on up, Malia. Sil? Thank you. And so we'll go in order of the sign-in sheet, if that's okay with you guys. And we'll first hear from Mrs. Timelo. Good evening. If you don't mind, just state your name for the record, and then you can proceed.
Are we all introducing ourselves? Oh, okay. All right. Wow. Okay. My name is Cecilia Timinglo, and I live in Malolo. It's hard to get to meetings, but when you retire, you have time now. So the only thing is now I'm saying I need to retire from retirement because it's not all all that. It's a very busy time for I guess, retirees. Well, anyway, I hope I'm here on behalf of my former colleagues, but also my family. I'd like to start with probably my former colleagues in education. I retired as a teacher for been there for 30 years, 10 at the middle school here in Inarahan, and then 20 years at the elementary. I want to just kind of get this one off of my chest because I think it's going to be quick, and maybe whoever needs to address it can do that. Recently, it was brought to my attention, but it's happened in the past many times. I believe when I was teaching, at least 4 of our teachers were in the military at one time. And so they go on military leave, and we need that. We need them, and that's their right. And I think all of us agree that we feel safe when they're doing their military duty. However, and this year, I believe there's 2, and I don't want anyone to take it out of context that I'm saying something bad about the persons that are on military. That's their right, and that's our security here. However, the department doesn't allow for someone to come in and take the place of that teacher at that teacher's level, certified or whatever. They put in substitutes, I guess, I believe just substitutes, not even a substitute that's going to be there for the duration of that absence. It's on call or whoever they can get to fill that position. And I know that certain parents will call in right away and ask for their kids to be moved out of that classroom into another class until the other teacher is maxed out. And then you would get substitutes for the rest of the year. So I know currently, and this is just in Arahan, I don't know about the rest of the island. I'm pretty sure a lot of the other schools are dealing with teachers on military duty. I know for sure that there's one that's on, I think, for a year, and another one that's on a 3-year. DOE can't release that position, or so they say, they can't release that position to pay another teacher. So I'm throwing that out. What can we do? Because when you lose a year of education, it's like losing 2 or 3 years of education. So if kindergarten, I mean, how much lower can you start kindergarten? And they lose that kindergarten, they've lost first grade, and hopefully somewhere along the way someone can help them out. I doubt it. It's hard. So DO needs to find a way to put that, if that military personnel is not getting paid while they're on leave, they get their other pay or whatever, some money has to be freed up or needs to be freed up to put a certified teacher in that position. Okay, so that was a concern that I had in the education section.
Thank you, ma'am. Did you have other concerns in other areas?
I have another concern, and I guess I would have been here maybe when my kids were growing up, but I was too busy raising the kids and working. I'm here because of my 87-year-old mother. We live in Malolo, and I was asking her, I traveled after I retired in 2020, and went off and did some things and came back, and I must have missed a lot of stuff during the pandemic, but I whenever I'm at my mom's, I would say, let's go outside, let's go. And I was wondering why she was hesitating to go out to the back kitchen where she loved to eat, where she loves to eat. She wouldn't go out. My sister-in-law, I said, here, can you take this trash out? And she's like, no, I don't want to go near the trash can. And I was wondering why. My mom finally told me that there was just a lot of traffic on the slowest, the least driven, traveled road. Like, where? What road? And I started watching and observing, and I realized what the fear was. My mom couldn't come out on the porch because there were some nefarious. I mean, I'm not a cop. I don't go there. But when you see 30, 40, 50 cars coming in and out of a road that they're not selling lumpia. There's when you see a DeWitt vehicle come in and there's no plumbing there. I mean, you can make your own conclusions. And so I've been watching and panic. At first it wasn't a big fear, but when people kept saying, be careful, like, okay, I get it now. I get what's going on. Okay, so after seeing that for I want to say going on 2 to 3 years, and I was talking to anybody and everybody, and I feel that our mayor and all those leaders in the neighborhood watch, they're doing, I guess, a great job, because it's zero activity there right now. But I didn't want to just complain. I feel like I was having anxiety after a while, because I'm there every day, and I thought, I'm not afraid of anybody. And I would stand out and watch, and I would converse with some of the passers-by. Some stopped their car and wanted to talk to me, like, what are you doing, lady? So I'm just, taking a picture of my mom's flowers. And I just realized that whatever we have, whatever problem we have the nicest people doing it. I read every day, 6 people here, 4 people there, they have a gun, they have a knife, they have this, they beat up somebody. whatever it is that our villagers are doing, they're the kindest at it. They're our relatives, they're our next door neighbors, and you know, there's just no reason, really. So I said, well, then what is the reason? And so I just realized, because what is the reason? In school, we're doing the Red Ribbon month. We're talking about the drugs. We're talking about what it does to your family. We talk about what it does to your jobs, your dreams, your careers. We talk to where they're blue in the face. They write about it. The teachers integrate it. We bring Mr. Tapao down and the GPD. So then what? What's going on? I almost don't want to say that we need to do something because the mayor said a lot about bringing an economy to Inarajan. But that's what we need to do. But we need to do it right out of 12th grade. We need to find a way to bring them maybe in here if they don't know what to do. Put them on some computers and look for the jobs out there. Maybe our mayor's staff, or maybe you guys can come up with some funding, because I'm sure there's not just this problem in Inarajan and Mariso. It's in every village, and every kid gets out of school, but what was their transportation? It was a bus. They were on a bus to school. Now they're 12th grade, and now what? You think they have a car? They don't have a car. Most of them don't have a car, and especially down in the south, to get to where the jobs are, they need a vehicle. But they also need to know that, hey, you're not alone. A lot of the other kids are trying to figure out where they're going. I know there were counselors, but when they all get out of school, then what? They're in the village with their grandma, their grandpa, with their mom and dad. Maybe they don't even have a vehicle. So now they're without a vehicle and they want a job. How do we do that? So a program, grant money that maybe share riding, or maybe the adults, like the ones that are retired and are not, that have the time, maybe we can start getting these kids to the job, at least to start them off until they can afford a vehicle. And why do I say this? Because sometimes I did more than observe. I sometimes got in my vehicle and I followed. And it was all around the village, and it was just about my former students. 27-year-olds, 31-year-olds. I even have students that are 40-year-old. My first year students of me teaching, they're in their 40s. And I realized that these are our former students. My students, they were great students. They were well behaved in class. They did their work. They told their stories. They told what they wanted to be, or what they were going to do after school. And now I see them sitting at home, no job, nowhere to go, and they're getting into this thing. There's no reason. So I was just hoping that, maybe that economy within our village is going to help out. But I think we need to get off right away when those seniors, get them in a mayor's office. Get the ones, check on them. What are you doing? You want to, use our computers. You want to look at what the jobs are out there. You want a job fair, but they need a vehicle. So those are my two concerns, and I hope we're able to do something at some point.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Timinglaw. And you're right, it's not just in Alahan. But I want to say, I think what you're referencing could it be something that I had seen in recently unsealed court documents that talked about a drug house operation in Malolo. It's all over the news, so I'm not sure if you're referencing that, but we do have Sergeant Paul Tapao of the Guam Police Department. Sergeant, if you wanted to speak on the concerns at all?
Hoffaday, and good evening again. I want to thank your good mayor, Mayor Tony Chargleff, his beautiful wife, the staff, and of course our fine senators here, and more importantly the constituents here from Minalahan, Malesu, and I see some from the Talafofo area. Thank you again for your hospitality, or your hospitality, because I'm struggling to keep my eyes open. I got that boxing effect, but I'm still here. I hear your concern. Thank you for your service as an educator. I think what you do and staying dedicated, 30 years of service to the kids. I've grown to love an educator. I married an educator, so I know what you're going through. So that's why I guess my placement at the Guam Police Department, where I am now, we hear you. We have programs that are in play, and this is part of our strategic plan. Chief Stephen Ignacio has really been honing in developing these strategic plans to benefit our youth. Currently, we are running a junior police cadet at the Talafofo Elementary School, 6 other schools. We've been there for 5 weeks. We're going to be working next year with Inalahan Elementary, and we're going to be working with the middle schools. It's really a prevention to education, building decision-making skills and making them better decision makers in life. We are piloting a program. It's a criminal justice pathway program at the Tizan High School, and working alongside the junior RTC program. We're seeing that the Guam Police Department, with our shortage of manpower, we're trying to work in capturing our high school kids, our graduating college students at the Guam Community College and their university, so hopefully get them to try the employment opportunities here in Guam. The Guam Police Department is one of the only government agencies that has a continuous application. And I love the idea of a resource center down here. Mayor, maybe we can explore that avenue with all the other mayors in developing an educational resource center that can, one, provide the tutelage skill or some of the kids that may be lacking, or also use the resource center as an opportunity to explore career opportunities or helping them get ahead. We are working in those measures in fostering good minds and, of course, better stewards in the community. So we haven't forgotten about the South. Our efforts are focusing a lot on the kids. Like I mentioned, we have our junior police cadet program here at Talafofo. We're going to be initiating one in Nalahan next year. A lot of things are going to be happening also at the Mauricio proper. As you mentioned to crime, and I think you should openly say it, addiction and crystal methamphetamine. It is a problem. It is a pandemic. We are seeing not just the issues here, but all throughout the island. And I do want to commend the efforts of your Neighborhood Watch program, your leadership with your mayors, and of course the members within that team. Unfortunately, we can't really talk about some of the operations, but I do want you guys to know that the information that you guys are sharing, and of course, it's all for the greater good of the safety of your community. These are the informations that we need. These are the reasons why we reached out at developing and working with, alongside your Neighborhood Watch program. I know we used to have meetings over the Gef Paga. I used to bring my kids down here, just developing and coming up with a functional Neighborhood Watch program, working with Rick Meno, working with Mayor Tony. Even before he was elected, he was a major advocate about the program and getting the constituents involved. We are working. The Guam Police Department's Community Crimes Task Force has been very, very active down here in gathering intelligence. So there's a lot of activity that's happening, not just in Alahan, but also in Malesu, in Talafofo, and Humatak. So, you know, we are working in getting the information, getting the intelligence report. You know, the good mayors had made mention that we know that they're family members, we know that they're residents of the village, but if we continue to enable their behavior, we're not providing them the help that they need. And this is a great opportunity in which we can actually work at finding opportunities for those that are in need of service and those that are dealing with addiction. Addiction is something in which we are trying to teach our kids to our prevention to education. We're not just going to rely on Red Ribbon. We are working on a curriculum that's going to be there year-round for the students so that they have a better decision-making skills platform. So there's a lot of things that are in the work. I want to sit down and talk to you about how can we develop a resource center here in the Southern Villages so that we can get the opportunity. I know the mayor had made mention about moving with a precinct here. When we had the neighborhood watch meeting, our good governor was here along with the chief and the command staff. One of the issues was the availability of the services that we need to use our computers on our network. OTEC is really in more of keeping it in the precinct centric. I know we're still in discussion with that, sir. That's something that has not. This is really a feasible. You made great points about it being within the main thoroughfare. Just a little insights. He made mention about the Eastern Precinct. Right now, where we are, it's open for procurement. So we're looking at bolstering. We're in the procurement process, right? So we're getting the procurement for building design. Once we get that, we're going to be working with the Southern Villages to help the design that is feasible, and of course, where can we be proactive in assessing the needs, such as the maritime efforts, working with Guam Fire. Majority of the maritime efforts comes under rescue and response is the Guam Fire Department, to see what we can do to provide aid, because we do have our recreational boating safety that also assists the Guam Fire in the event of any rescue operation. So working alongside with the agencies such as Guam Fire, your Municipal Planning Council, and of course the good senators. These are programs in which we have in store for the southern side, the beautiful South, with the Guam Police Department. But ma'am, again, thank you for your service, and let's sidebar and discuss what we can do to open up a resource center, because I did a career day at Southern High, and either you're driven to be a fireman or a policeman. That's one of the things here, or you work for GP or GWA, either or. You know, that's where the men gravitate to from the South. Hopefully we can entice them and persuade them to come over to GPD. Too many Southerners are firemen, so we want to have more of the police officers. We are looking for a few good men and women. But I really do like that resource center idea, to see what we can do to provide the additional education and, of course, the reinforced education. So that's a great idea.
Thank you, Sarge. Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony. I think they might have even had a song about firemen down here in Inalon. Yes, right. Yeah, need to make a GPD song, right? Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony. Miss Malia Castro, if you don't mind, please state your name for the record and proceed. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, senators, for coming down into the villages and hearing all of our concerns. My name is Malia Castro. I am a parent of 3 children. My kids attend IMS and MU Lujan, so they are Southern children. Most of my concerns is kind of about GDOE and all those things, education. So I wanted to ask, with the whole public health thing on the schools and what needs to be worked on, will that be publicized so that if we have PTO members or PTO that is available for the schools to help with financially helping the schools get through what needs to be fixed quicker, so that we know what needs to be worked on and what can be done without going through all the procurement and the red tape, because that usually takes a while for the school. So PTO is usually a way to help the schools, at least with some things that need to be done quickly. With my first graders' school, they were broken into, and they had their PA system stolen. And they were 3 weeks away from their Chamorro program. So we had to really quickly, as a PTO and as a school, come up with ways to come up with at least $2,000 for the speakers, right? So we were able to do that with the parents' help and the teachers' helps and just the community. And we were able to put on our programs, so that was the most important thing. But it was nice to see everybody work together to do that and get that done. So PTO is another way to help the schools, or at least the admin, to get things done, I guess. So if we could have it maybe publicized on what needs to be worked on the schools, and then you never know, maybe we might get donations from companies saying, hey, we have this many cement bags, and if you need something worked on, we'll donate it for you, right? You know, just get the community involvement on that. Of course, all the schools with security issues and break-ins, Carbolito just had their school broken into. So that is a common thing. And maybe with a closer co-ban for the police, that might help as well, because getting a response to Jonya is hard, right? Like it's a little far. So by the time anybody gets there, the people are already gone. I'm not sure how GDOE is doing with the security systems. I know our school has a security system, but it's only certain rooms that have a security system. And I'm not sure who takes care of that security system, and if there's a way to get someone to get there. Who do they call, right? So that's another thing that might be good. For PTOs, when I started in PTO, we had a meeting for PTO members to kind of re-up on how to register your nonprofit. Because we're parents, we don't know all the legalities of it.
Yeah,
and then there's no how-to book, really. So when Mr. Mark Manley was here with Mr. John, they put together 3 different districts, right? Central, Northern, and Southern, and they were able to get the PTOs there and see if they are up to date on all their paperwork and what paperwork need turning in. And because, you know, tax and rev is sometimes a place where you don't really want to go all the time, so they had someone come in that night and go over the paperwork and what's the best 1, 2, 3 instead of 1A, 1C, you know. So that was really helpful, and that would be helpful again, because PTO members don't stay the same. Your kids grow out of the school, and then you have new members. You can't be there for more than 6 years at the most if you start from elementary. Okay, so I watched the Dedido Voices of the Village. I watched the Dedido Voices of the Village. So I wrote down some things that they had concerns of. So they do have their parks that get after-hour businesses, after hours, and drinking and stuff like that. So I know that there are signs posted, right? From this time to this time, you're allowed in the park, no alcohol. But it's only in English. So maybe if we had it in a different language that other people could understand, so that there's no excuses onto why they don't understand what the times are or what's allowed and what's not allowed. That way, there's no excuses, right? I know the newer generations understand, but their parents don't always understand, right? So that might help. I did write GPO program, but you already touched on that. I really like that. I think we do have to get started while they're young, because obviously drug dealers are getting started when they're young, so we got to recruit them as soon as possible, right? Show them the good that can come out of it, and then, because all they see when they look at a drug dealer, right, is, oh, he's got money, oh, he's got cars, oh, they got this, instead of, you know, the bad things that happen. So if we get them started young, it might be easier, yeah. And vehicle abandonment. So my husband is very much into mechanics, like a lot of backdoor mechanics, but he had to kind of learn about registering a car, transferring a car, checking the VIN numbers on a car to make sure they match. So some of those things you don't really learn when you're given a handbook on how to get your license, right? So maybe there can be a way to maybe ask the drivers' schools to maybe put together a list of what they have to do legally to get a car. Because obviously, if you're going to get a driver's license, you want to also get a car. So that might be a good thing. And then, like, knowing when you sell a car, who do you talk to, right? Because there's that leeway between selling the car and then you register, putting it under their name. Like, who do you talk to? Because something could happen between the 30 days that they don't do it, right? So that's another thing, like nobody knows who. My husband found out you definitely go to talk to DMV and tell them I sold the car, this is who I sold it to. But not a lot of people know that. So maybe another thing to think about. At least that might help with the vehicle abandonment, because then you would really know who is the owner of this car, right? Yeah, and that's kind of it.
Ms. Castro, please stay seated, and we're going to hear from Mr. Duenas, and then we'll go through and address your concerns as well as his. And we're going to, if there's anyone else who wants to testify, please see the front table there, and we'll get your name. Other than that, I think we're going to close with Mayor TC after we finish our testimony here. Mr. Victor Duenas.
Senador, ni pinatunidzo papa wini gi inalahan. Maulik na mangaigi amzo, jen aatan hami wini gejistritun inalahan to voice our concern because there's a lot of problem. And thank you, because I know all these faces up here. And I know you know who's Victor Duenas. And Chris Malfunction, Senator Chris Malfunction, you're doing a good job island-wide, and this is the first time I see going around the village hearing our concern out here. And first of all, I want to thank you, the Mayor of Inalahan, Mayor Charglaf, because I thought I'm going to die down with no street light up there at my place. I want to thank you, this administration, for pushing that GPA to turn on the street light. And when I was coming up here, boy, Inalahan is shining again. And that's what we need. That's what we need. You drop the crime down for people seeing those people out there in the street. Ipinena na pabi sangan ye kwento sa Itzamoro na banda. And hopefully you guys understand ye pinlo Itzamoro. Sa tawtawamanzo, za debi non comprendi ilongwahin Itzamoro gwini gitanota sa ang malagwato Philippine. Pura kwentos Tagalog siya gispitat. Dat yung comprende. So wabe juti hujong kwentos. Zabe pula todo kwentos Itzamoro. I'm happy that Sergeant Tapao is here, because he's a safety officer, right? When you see a pothole on a road, what are you going to do as a safety police officer? Yes, sir.
Traveling on the road?
There, you see, you're always on the road driving, and you see a pothole there.
Oh, pothole.
Yes, kapna. Iparojinamak ikaritamo. What are you going to do on that? Are you going to warn the people of Guam that, hey, there's a pothole inside there? Are you going to put a cone there to warn all the driver? Because it's always a problem. There's no sign. You just run into that hole and you're going to break your car. That's one. Because if they put a cone there to warn all the driver, guarantee Public Works going to come and fix that hole. Because if there's no warning sign there, they're just going to keep going until we have a next administration again. It's always like that here in our island of Guam. It's never going to be fixed on this problem no matter what you do. I don't care if next administration comes in, you're going to see those problems and repeat over and over again. Where is all the police officer that they promised that it's going to be more police officer on the street? What happened? It's talk, talk, talk. Every election, talk, 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 but there's no action. They say, we're working on it. How many times you going to work on those things? Because already people are getting smarter on this talk, talk, talk. Every election is just talk, 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 and it's not happening. It's just a repeat things. Okay. Mayor Charglove, thank you. Si Diyos maosin, ibigay mo. So now I could see my way up to my place. And now I could walk, I could exercise. Talking about exercise, fitness, and things like that, I cannot exercise because it's so dark. How are you going to see your exercise going up those hills? It's dangerous. People are shooting their gun up there. They're throwing trashes, and cat and dog, and whenever what they have there, and then when the dog comes to my place, they're going to blame you because you're feeding the dog for 3 days and you're going to own that dog. That's a silly question and silly. What they're trying to do is to blame you to have that dog and cats and things like that. Come up to my place and get those dogs because it's not my dog. But I got a heart to feed them. Feed them because they're hungry. Are you going to say homeless people on the side of the street, you're not going to do nothing? Not to feed them? Let them die? So I'm making an example just like the animal on that thing. I otro pa be kuntusiamzo. Sa bula po brimata gwini gitanota. Noa be sanganesti gimenagahet. Nako angin esti pa ako na praying. You, Senator, are you going to take action of what we just say out on this village of Inalan? Are you going to write it down and take action, or are you just going to take that, all this paperwork straight into the trash can? Because I experienced those things. You remember me when I testified up there with Lola Cola? I used to be involved in those things. But it takes years and years to get those for them to act in. So that's why I'm speaking now, because I'm 67 years old. I'm going to be 68. Just see, repeat what I'm seeing all the time. No ayagon. Bay siga sumangan bay tankyus din na miyot. Bonito to dua tsotsuwi wini gijanalahan. I never see these things mamalofan na tempo, gihagas na tempo. Edzigi siya na miyot. They call it a commissioner. Sa mamatak nga. They could bring things in to the village. And I'm seeing this mayor, what he's doing, making Inalan shine again. When you say, if I ask and request for a chair and a canopy, manggugupo papa itaw-taw niya to help you. They're not going to honor you. He's going to try hard to accomplish you. And that's why I'm very happy that Banidosujo, I'm a show-off guy. I don't care because I'm happy what this mayor's doing. I am just like you, Senator Malafunction and Senator Teristulay, told them to go na hulo. You're working for the people of Guam. We elected you. We put you in the door to take care of us out here. And yes, we're the boss. Don't tell me you guys are the boss. You listen out here. We're the power out here that puts you in to do the work for all of us. Am I right? Bunga sumangan. Na hodistes palakpakpatsut. I always say palakpakpatsut because they call me palakpakpatsut if I speak. But this palakpakpatsut is making sense for all of you as an elected official. Don't forget what we do. All of you. We vote for all of you in to do the job right. Basta the corruption like Joanne Brown, Senator Joanne Brown, number one to stop the corruption. But the corruption is still in the door. How are they going to stop it? No, gagi si Mali and si Parina and si, ay, atungo, so, tageno siya custom bring I Chamorro na sa magay asi sa edzigi lahi ho. Dispensa. You're never gonna stop the corruption here in the government of Guam. Sa when you're a Democrat or a Republican, you cannot kill those voters. Sa si Pari and si Mali, manggagayagya and si Kumpayri. Let me bring up about the cow. What happened to the cow that they ordered? And you guys were, I don't know if you're still a senator in there, in the legislatura. Where is the cow that they ordered from Tinian? What happened to those shipments when they arrived in Guam? Where is the cow in the Department of Agriculture? Anybody knows? And I want all of you to investigate what happened to that cow in the agriculture. So when I went there for breeding so I could have a bigger cow. This is what I was told. Sorry, Mr. Dueñas. Taod sa waka. Mamalingo iguaka. I want you to check that where is the guaca. Because it's missing in action, like I say in Tonila Morena's show, talk show. Nobody's doing nothing. They're just hearing my voice and they laugh when I say those things, the manamku. But I want action. What happened to those cows for breeding? Gaigis tagi alumitu janian mamabutcher. Man hotspok. Sa mangi na katni. Ay. I better stop. Sa maayo agupa talo. Just mause. Senator, take action and find where's my cow that they shipped from Tinian. Just mause. Thank you again, Mayor Tergla. You're doing a wonderful job. And I will continue supporting this Chaglav for the people of Inalahan. I don't care when they say, oh, it's not election. I'm going to campaign hard of what he's doing because he's doing the right thing. Just like you, Chris. Senator Chris. Senator Tilahi, I heard all the news that I think you're going to team up, but it's too early to say. But I'm saying it out because this is what in my ears. But I still laugh. I still love this administration of what they're doing too for the people of Inalan. Si Diyos masi, si Diyos tawran so pambinindisi. Adios.
You want to go first? Yeah. 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 You want to go first? Go ahead. Sergeant, thank you, Mr. Duenas.
So, Senor Dueñas, to answer your question about the pothole, if you do find a pothole that is hazardous roadway, feel free to call the police or your respective mayor. We'll address that. To answer your question, sir, about the police, right now in operations, all precincts are mandated to have a 1 supervisor, 1 desk watch, and 5 personnel, 5 officers. That's a big difference from having 3 officers. So, although 2 may not be significant, having 5 officers available on the rotational shift, we're seeing an increase. We're opening up the overtime to allow more. So sometimes we may even have 7 or 8 officers patrolling. Currently, we have a cycle of 16 possible candidates to be police officers. They're going to be graduating by August of this year. On what we call on the deck or in the hall, we're vetting 41 applicants. So that 41 applicants, we're looking at starting a cycle of 25. Within the 2 months, once they're started, we're going to have another cycle of 25, and we're going to continue to vet more applicants so that we have a continuous flow. We've just initiated our retiree program. So we do have 4 officers, our village safety officers, that work closely with the central precinct and the southern precincts. They work closely with the schools, they work closely with the businesses. We just started talks with the Guam Chambers of Commerce in working with the mom and pop stores to come up with best safety practices. I know, Mayor Tony, 2 of your stores were victims of armed robberies within the last year. So we want to address that, and we're working closely with the Chamber of Commerce. But like I said, the Guam Police Department, we are one of the only government agencies that has a active, continuous application. But once the 16 officers graduate in August, we're looking at putting 25 in a cycle and then another 25 to follow. So we're going to continue this process. So that's being addressed. I do want to ask if you in the PTO are inclined to looking at doing an adopt a school program, like a neighborhood watch campaign with your Inner Lahan Middle School and your at MU Lujan, because I know the schools have been broken into, and if you watched the news last night at KUAM, snacks, chips, and everything, so that's indicative of kids. So if we come up with an adopt a school program with our neighborhood watch program, and how we can incorporate our youths to be also part of the eyes and ears, I think if we can hit that and work like a mentorship program within the PTO and the kids, maybe we can discuss more, because I've been hearing different ideas from other PTOs about how they can actually keep the school safe from within and working with the kids, because I want to say majority of the crimes the break-ins that are happening are really the students from the school or former students from the school. That's one of the things that we would like to address with you in reference to the safety of the schools.
Those recruit graduate before you solve that problem?
Which problem?
What? Those pothole that you're gonna put cone on it? I'm warning the driver not to go over that. But I wish you could team up with Public Works and take action on that of what we're saying down here. And all the people that are complaining with road, pothole, fix the road, and things like that. Don't wait for the recruit to come out, because I hear so many times on those things. It's always excuses and excuses that people are getting tired. When you see that it's gonna break your car, put a sign and warn those drivers. That's all I'm going. Never, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Duenas.
Can I mention two more things? I will try to make it as quick as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
you can maybe raise your hand back there if you recall tourist drivers on that three-way, and I'm saying this because my husband is too shy to come up. The three-way stop up at Talafofo. As you're approaching, there's a road to the right to go straight ahead, and then the road to the left to turn up to Talafofo. Well, the tourists, and I say tourists because several times with their nice, Chevrolet vehicles, their sports cars, the red one, the yellow one, they just go right through. And so many times just between my husband and I, we've almost gotten into an accident ourselves, or we watched how someone else almost would have gotten hit. So that would be kind of like our village, Talafofo, maybe. And then one other thing, I know they're taking away the what is it called? The escort car for those long. How long are those dump trucks? What is the bit? 40 foot. And they're coming around the bends in Malolo, and I just thought that was just the most dangerous thing in the beginning, and why would they bring that down anyway to the most beautiful village? But anyway, they had escorts, and now they're taking that away, and I'm fearful of our school buses, and then just our families making those curves with those cars without an escort. And then I don't know where's Mr. Meno. He mentioned something about Mr. Meno. Mr. Meno, I would prefer if he's here. He talked about, and to me it's so important, about the active shooter and what does our village do in the event of an active shooter in what is reality today in our schools. Okay, thanks. I don't know. I hope. Sorry.
Good evening, Senators. Mayor Chargaleff, two Chargaleffs, and our constituents here. I wanted to talk about the recent, the new crimes that are being committed, this active shooter thing, right? It's everywhere. It's the latest one we had I guess it's in St. Francis? St. Anthony, yeah. So this is my thinking, right? And I want to suggest something. It only takes a human to provide or do this type of harms, right? And it only takes a human to stop that too. So, and I know GPD can't be everywhere to prevent these things to happen. And I wake up in the morning, every morning, and watch what's happening back there in the States with this active shooting. By the time law enforcement officers gets to that place, it's too late. Several people dead. So I want to, bring up a suggestion on maybe curb some of these or prevent some of it from happening. Maybe we can't completely stop it, but we can help GPD on that side. So if there can be a program for private citizens to buy into this program where they can react to this active shooter right there and then. But of course, these individuals need to be trained, need to be properly evaluated, right? From head to toe, physically, mentally. And so these individuals are kind of like volunteers, community volunteers, wherever they're at. And I'm suggesting that at least 2 of these individuals can be in every school. And as much as we can have this type of volunteers who are properly trained, of course, properly evaluated to do the right thing, to make the right move at that right instant, 1 second move. That's what we need. So I don't know, perhaps this is just like maybe a brainstorm, right? Maybe if you guys can develop some type of program where you can have the community buy into this thing, buy into this program, and help GPD out. Because I'm willing to be part of it. I'll sign up for it now. But I think what I feel is, like I said, it takes a human being to do the bad stuff. And it only takes a human being. It can only take a human being to stop it. And, by the time we call GPD to get to that place, you've seen it back in the States, could be 10, a dozen kids dead. But how do we kind of curb that? How do we prevent that? And I think we need to buy in on that. The community needs to buy into this. And I'm suggesting that maybe, Chris, maybe you can start a program to try to buy in the volunteers, but in return, that they get the proper training, they get the proper evaluation, and they get the proper tools. And I think if we can think like that, I think we can curb some of these issues. Because we already see it at Ocean View, we see it at St. Anthony. I'm not sure if the reality is going to come tomorrow. I don't know. But if there's someone out there ready to make that stoppage, right? Like I said, remember, it takes a human being to do the bad stuff. It only takes a human being to stop it. And we can't just depend on GPD all the time. It's not going to work. We can help them out. So I'm suggesting to have some type of program for the community to be engaged, to function, and take the necessary action to stop it. It doesn't have to be a law enforcement officer. It just takes proper individual, fully trained, and evaluated. And I'm willing to serve. I'll be the number one. I'll be the first guy to sign up on this. So I hope I get that message out to you guys, and maybe you can start a program. I think we need it. I feel we need it.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Meno. We do need it. And the Guam Department of Education, they just had a safety training, right? Was active shooter covered in that training, sir?
So over the spring break, the Guam Police Department worked alongside DOE Student Support Division. And it was really more of an awareness about active shooters, lockdown situation, shelter in place type of thing. That was one of many. We had criminal sexual conduct, how to report CSCs, police intervention, different awareness with the different vapes and drugs, but working alongside with DOE, that'd be the best avenue. I know when we had to sit in with the SROs, we were the only law enforcement agency that was armed within a high school. And that's one of the things that we were exploring with DOE, is to have an armed LE. And I'm sorry, Rick, but the reality of that is that anybody that's going to be in that type of addressing that has to be an LE within the law enforcement realm. It really is, because of the liabilities and everything, and the continuous training that we have to endure. We understand. I think where the community can help is support making the decision whether a law enforcement agency that's going to be armed become an SRO, or are we going to not explore what they're doing in the States and not having armed school resource officers. So that's in discussion. That's something that they're trying to work out with. I know we had a few years ago SROs, but they weren't armed. When we sat in for them in lieu of their absence, we were the only law enforcement agency that was armed in the high school. So that's something that is in the works.
Yeah, so maybe this program can fall directly under GPD. Yeah, if that can work and that can be, the legislature can probably draft up some kind of, bill to kind of brainstorm about how this thing's going to work, and then we can start from there. But yeah, I hear you. Yeah, if it has to be under GPD, then so be it. But what I'm saying is, you guys need help. Yeah, you gotta be ready. And if I'm there, I'm dropping off my wife. She's a teacher as well, right? She works at the school up at the elementary. Sometimes I drop her off. And if I see somebody walking in with an AR-15, what am I gonna do? Right? It happened back. It happens. It happened already, right? Back in the States, do we wait for it to wait and see this thing happen? Yeah. So if I'm in that situation and I see that, what do I do? What do I do? Do I have the opportunity to stop that individual? And that's my reason. Right. But I like to bring that up tonight that, we do need community volunteers to make this happen. Because right now, we all know that GPD short, and, by the time we call you guys, even if you come there 5 minutes, to me, sometimes 30 seconds is too long. Right. 10 seconds might be too long. So I'm thinking, what do we do right at that instant? What kind of opportunities do we have to stop that active shooter? We have to stop that guy in a dime. We have to stop that guy in 2 seconds. So I just like to bring that up.
Thank you,
How
Mr.
do we
Mano.
do it? How do we do it? And how can we make it work? That's the big issue right now, right? But I like to bring that out tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Meno.
Okay.
And it's written down here. We're not going to throw the notebook in the trash when we get back to the office, Uncle Victor.
Okay.
But you're right. I think and Sergeant Tapau's right. I think we need to revisit the idea of the armed personnel at the schools, at the SROs. I know that the Judiciary of Guam was providing assistance for that, and I want to say it was part of a grant that maybe had run out. And now DOE is.
Yeah.
DOE got the grant, and then they hired the marshals out of the Judiciary. But I think that grant has run out, and so there are SROs in the GDOE system, but there's only, I want to say, less than 5 district-wide.
Right.
So this is something we have to revisit, and then also, like Sergeant Tapau said, in the event there is that, and knock on wood, because you're right, we have to prepare for it. We also need to make sure our GPD maybe conducts these trainings at the school setting, and then we have the PTOs attend them, because a lot of times PTOs are on site at the schools for whatever reason, assisting throughout the day, so that way they know, let's barricade, let's cover the evacuation or the shelter in place. But yeah, there definitely needs to be training, not only with those things, Mr. Meno, but I'm also thinking with this looming threat of China and the possibility of some kind of military attack on Guam. I mean, this is very real because we keep hearing about it from, the Department of Defense presence on Guam. I think that we need to start preparing for that possibility and what's going to happen to the civilian assets that are outside the fence line in the event of any kind of attack from a foreign military power, whether it's a nuclear or, troop-based. So these are all great ideas, sir, and we're definitely going to look into trying to stand up that SRO program and any other great ideas that you have.
Yeah, and I also like to, emphasize too that it's not only for school grounds.
Right.
This is everywhere. I'm talking about everywhere.
The mall.
The mall,
Right, yeah.
out in the parking lot, over at the flea market, right out there at the volleyball court, on the street, in the stores. You see it happening everywhere. These active shooters are everywhere, right? Robbing and all that. So what I'm talking about is for a program that can be applied just about anywhere.
I think something like this could also be addressed through the expansion of the Castle Doctrine. I think something like this could be addressed through the expansion of the Castle Doctrine.
Yes, Yeah, yeah, and
But I mean, there'll still be issues, of course, but yeah, because I know we have the castle doctrine now. Um, in expanding what your castle is, because your car is your castle as well.
yeah.
You know.
But
So,
but I'm talking about
Sure.
these specific individuals.
Sure.
We can call them elite community members, right? I'm talking about these type of individuals that are willing to volunteer and are willing to be trained, are willing to be evaluated, and be
That's-
trained in everything and given the right tools to perform. And basic, the important thing is for them to perform properly at that given second.
Yeah, that's
That's the bottom line of what I'm trying to bring out.
Rick, that's teetering towards vigilante already, type of neighborhood watch approach, and that's something that we don't encourage. We had this discussion with other villagers and stuff. It's really that's really teetering towards that side already. What we do want to do is really, how do we foster the neighborhood watch program in itself?
But this is out of the neighborhood watch. I think this is totally different. It can be direct, like I said, directly under GPD, but these are a backup individuals, community members that can respond when they're present at that situation. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to address your concerns. That I'm going to give it over to, or actually, I'll just go ahead and start, and I'll close. Speaker Terlahi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sergeant Tapao. And can I just say, I think the ideas are really excellent, and I think timely, because you do have a very proactive mayor, pretty aggressive in getting things for Inalahan that are very well deserved, I think. And so, and you've got resources here now that you can put all together. Your ideas, Lillian and Sil, I think excellent. So, for example, it's not just to recruit policemen, but to recruit. We have such high needs in the government for services. Not even the government, but even in the private industry. So we've put tons of money, millions of dollars towards training, but we don't have enough takers on the training. And I think you have a beautiful place here to bring the training down here. And if you group the people, as you've described, the graduates without jobs, group them, easy to take care of transportation, I think, right? That we can prove that we've got groups, and if they can't bring the training down here, then we can group them and take them up for training. And these are training where they will train you into a job, like directly, or the employers will hire you already to be an apprentice, and then you get trained into these jobs. So I think there's a lot of promise for that. A beautiful place to do that all in, right? And really to coordinate all your efforts together. The mayor's idea of this kitchen is actually one that we've been trying to do because public health will not allow home-based businesses, right? Particularly cooking. They want without commercial kitchens. So the ideal was to have one at least in every village. Inalahan might be the model village to do this in. If Pago, it's a great idea. Mayor, if you, and I think it doesn't sound too expensive to me. If it's $300,000, I can't see why we can't work that through one of these government agencies that gives out grants for entrepreneurs all the time. But you might be the guide for the rest of the villages, right? To show them, it's the theory that public health has been saying. Put one in every village and everyone can share it. It can be managed by the mayor or some other nonprofit and really grow industry in that village at least. And that's one, and that's a good model for all the other types of industry where we share the resource, right, amongst the village. We pay for it, we share, but then you share it, and then everybody else gets an opportunity. I think that those millions of dollars that we got in infrastructure money is supposed to go in part towards not just roads and other infrastructure, but also internet, right? And so I'm surprised to hear sergeant saying that that's the reason why we can't build a precinct in certain areas. That cannot be the problem anymore, right? Not with this infrastructure money. So, yeah, I think we need, and that also grows not just, you know, it grows the industry that's allowed, that we can grow down here, and also the training, right? Then the training can just continue to occur. All the ideas regarding the schools, those are excellent ideas. I mean, I hear your problem about, you know, the vacancies, especially teachers that go on for long terms. I've seen it so many times. And you're right, they fill it with subs, on-call subs many times. I think when I asked about this before, they would say, we have a shortage of teachers to begin with, so we cannot fill those with teachers because we already have a shortage of teachers. But I'm sure we can update GDOE whether their ability to hire retirees or any of that is really if they're able to fill their teachers, for example, this year, and then move on. You don't want to come back. I see that. Yeah, so many very, very good ideas, and even that VIN teaching all those things in driving school, excellent ideas. I think those are excellent. That teach them what the VINs are, how to identify your car, how you know if you're buying a stolen car or what, everything about it, and selling a car. I'm a lawyer, so I always think, I hope everybody knows how to sell a car, because I always worry about that too, right? Because we do it so casually. Yeah, we do it very casually, yet I heard at the round table on the abandoned cars that they're looking at, you know, imposing very strict liability on the last car owner of record. So those are going to go hand in hand. If they're going to start doing that, then for sure everybody's going to learn. And it's a perfect method, I think, is to do it through those schools or even high schools. That those are really life skills, right? That we can be teaching. So I don't want to take up all the time by repeating everything you said, but the ideas were very good. So thank you for complaining with excellent ideas at the same time. And Mayor, I think your ideas are great, and I support them, and I am willing to help. And Mr. Dueñas, of course, I'm not going to throw these in the trash can because I don't do that. I've been working very hard for many years to really get these things implemented. So
That's why I questioned that, because
yeah.
you know,
But I have a suggestion for you, though, Mr. Dueñas. It's, you know, look, there's 4 of us here. I know there's some other senators very concerned, but it's like you in your village, you know, you need a certain number to move things. We need a certain number to move things, and I'm asking you for your support in that. Everybody has to be held accountable. Yes, everyone has to be held accountable. They have to know what you feel, and so I really encourage you to never, ever stop doing that, and to urge them to act with expedience. And we're going to continue to do that. You're right, absolutely. Number 1, we work for you. We work for the people of Guam. Sijasmasi.
Senator Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Certainly appreciate all the input that we heard this evening. But, you know, I have to say to Mr. Dueñas, you know, and I was born and raised on Guam. I've lived here most of my life, and most of my orientation has been from my Chamorro side of my family. When we continue to accept bad behavior, when we continue to look away, when we allow the very people we know are doing things wrong to continue to do what they're doing, then we get what we get. We ultimately can pass all the laws on Guam, but if they're not enforced, if we don't have our basic values the way we were raised, and we were raised that way, I was raised in my Chamorro family that way, but a lot of our young people now are not, and they have no respect. Tayo respeto. And I ask who raised those children? Because even now my mother, she gives me that look across. If my mom gives me that look across the room, even at my age, I'm 57 years old, even I know what that means. And I don't even need a single word exchange because I already know. She's still my mother. And we have lost that value in our community. We have let too much go because I see nows and see primas and see primus and see. It's our own people. And that's what's bothersome. It's our own people harming our own people. And we let it go. And if you raise it, what were you thought? Shh, never mind. Instead, just see my primo, just see, never mind, let it go. Let it go. You know, like that song, let it go, let it go. And I have to tell you, until we're fed up enough,
Wasn't me.
then we're going to continue to get what we're getting. We're going to continue to get the crime and the corruption in the government and the use and abuse of power. And I've been at this a long time. This is like year 34, 35 for me. Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to be here forever either, but you and the public have to decide how much is acceptable when you're not safe in your own homes. And I grew up at a time we all talk about, we didn't have to lock our doors. If you don't stand up and speak up, if you don't stand up and speak up and say this is not acceptable and act accordingly, you will get what you get. And I don't think that's the community we want for our children or our grandchildren. And we do have the ability to change it, but we can't keep turning a blind eye and letting misuse and abuse happen in our community and not do anything about it. Well, I'm sorry, if it was my nephew, I would turn him in. If he's harming my family, my community, my children, I would turn him in. Well, then you get what you get. I think we all need to have a sense of personal responsibility, and if we continue to allow it, then we're going to get the kind of community where we don't feel safe, or we think the only solution is to move to America. And I live here by choice. All of us that are here do. But if we want better, we have to do better, and we have to start speaking up and saying, hey, enough is enough, and this is not acceptable. And that's in our community, that's in our government. You need to demand better accountability in your government. If you don't, you're going to continue to get the misuse and abuse of millions and millions of dollars every year that don't go to where they need to go to, but they're going in somebody's pocket. They're just not your pocket. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair, and certainly to our mayors that have hosted us, the members of the community that are here, and for those of you that have provided your input. It's most appreciated. Thank you. And good evening to all of you. I hope you all.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Lujan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Victor, pala ba opio po dezi guaca? Okay. Dos na punto gini ya. Alis tatabaw radio nagang po di mo guaca ni malongo. Okay. Like mo agang I Department of Agriculture kuntusi veterinarian gui masanganyo na taigui veterinarian. Pes masanganyo panano pa veterinarian fanan anigua gizun na veterinarian, right? Pesan yon agang masangan yon katun galagwa sinya matreat, right? Okay. Pesan yon faisino ne sa ti senador tiba. Mo agang I governor's office I medical referral ko sina may medical referral gamu waka pa St. Luke. Lo ti maagang ko tatile. Okay? Ti maagang ko tatile waka. In regards to I know what you're talking about in regards to that cattle that was supposed to be, I think, from Tinian. It was a proposal. It was a proposal to try to bring some cattle here. Did they bring it in?
Yeah. I was at the port when they brought it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In order to have, again, to expand on the bloodlines.
What happened?
So
Once it's out of our date, we're not in
yeah.
charge.
Yeah. So you're probably right. Is that? I think it's already is. It's not a. I don't think it came together for a bloodline. I think it's fitada bentizi right? Anyway. Yeah, but anyway, so that's the thing with that your sick cattle. But I think we have a new veterinarian now at the. Yeah, no, I wasn't there. I was on radio at the time when you called about that. Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll try to find out. The other thing, ma'am, you were talking about the.
Senator Brown was working for the governor at the time.
No,
Oh.
I was at the port.
Oh, she was at the port.
I was at the port. I was there when they brought in the cattle. So they arrived.
The cattle arrived then. How many? How many arrived?
I don't know how many, but we had to make sure they were fed and watered until they took them out of the yard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, make
So
sure they were taken care of.
I don't know where I don't know where they're at. Anyway, we'll try to find out. Ma'am, in regards to your about the schools, about the inspections that were going to be done and all that. I already submitted a bill in regards to inspections that will be done in schools and make it public, and the disposition of all the schools that are inspected, and what their findings are, and then the disposition. So that's already in bill form. So that to address one of your concern, that's already in bill form. So hopefully soon we'll do that. But
Oh.
yes, sir.
Can I get one more topic? One more topic. And this is regarding the, how GPD makes the arrest and then they go process them at the court. And I know I've been talking to Sergeant Paul several times about this. And, he airs his concern also where, they make the proper arrest, the criminals and all that. And then 2 days later, he sees them jaywalking out in the street. And it's been happening. I mean, this catch and release stuff, right? So I feel I stand to be corrected on this. I stand to be corrected on this. But I feel that there's a big gap between GPD's administrative processing procedures, putting it back into court with these criminals, and where the proper procedures that needs to be done, whether they be put in jail, right, or put away and, lock them up. For some reason, I feel there's a disengagement between the process between the GPD and the court system. For some reason, this catch and release stuff, I like to bring this up because the community sees these things, and we don't want them to lose faith on the system. And it's getting there, where people, I think, is losing faith on the system. So I'm not sure if there's a legislative procedures or administrative procedures that perhaps you guys can work with the judicial system and kind of properly have these criminals put in the right place rather than put back out in the street. That's very, it's a big issue, I guess, for the community. And like for myself, I see these things and then I talk to, Sergeant Paul tells me this, and I say, what's happening here? It's like, I'm sorry to use this word, but it seems like our system's kind of working ass backwards.
Yeah, Mr.
So to
Meno,
speak.
I agree with you. I think that, and I think you said it correctly, that the entire community is concerned about that. So when the police do their work, they give it to the Attorney General. And so we need an Attorney General to really pursue those things in court and really to help the court to determine its factors when they're deciding whether to release someone before trial or not, right? So these are all pre-trial release that we're looking at. And the courts, they have bylaws, so what we can do, right, is the law. So the law has standards that they're supposed to use when they release somebody. And one of the most important ones is whether that person is a danger to the community, right? And so this is the most perplexing part. When somebody is released and then commits crime again, then we feel like they did not judge that correctly because that person was clearly still a danger to the community. And we have had these discussions with the court several times, particularly for criminal sexual conduct. We've had oversight hearings. We've even passed laws to tell them that if you can't determine the risk of a criminal sexual conduct offender reoffending, then you should not be releasing them. You have to say, that in your opinion, it will be safe to the community. I even had this discussion with the Chief Justice yesterday because I told him we're following up on those, the laws that we passed regarding criminal sexual conduct in particular, and that in general, I expressed this the same thing that you just expressed to me. I said, I don't think the people of Guam are going to stand anymore for judicial discretion if they keep seeing what you're calling catch and release, and then reoffense, right? So perhaps, you know, if our prisons are full, we catch and we release is one thing, but if you catch and release and they're reoffending, then something's very, very wrong, right? The judgment's wrong, the discretion we're giving them may be wrong, and so then the courts always ask us lawmakers to give them full discretion, that they are the ones who are going to know all the details and they should be the ones to make that decision. And so I think, you know, many legislatures, we have done that. That's actually the trend in the whole nation, is to give the judges that discretion based on all the facts that they will know. But yeah, when we see this kind of thing in the community, it makes everybody want to go the other way. And I'm telling the courts that they have to address that.
Okay, I also like to point out, you know, that for example, GPD arrests this guy. They found a black bag, which is always the case. They arrest him, they test the drug, and it's, you know, it's positive. And then he goes to court and they say, oh, this is 2 ounce, 3 ounce, or whatever. Okay, but the real reality is this guy. He's probably got 10 different places where he hides his drugs. You're only taking one bag. You know, these drug dealers are smart nowadays. They don't take everything with them at one time when they travel. And
well, I think.
So they're releasing this guy. He goes to 9 different places and picks up another black bag. And who knows how many black bags he's got out there? Maybe 20, maybe 50. But he gets released. What does he do? Go get another bag, distributes it, gets arrested, released, get another bag, and I feel that's what's happening. And the other thing, I know this is my opinion, this is what I feel, this is my instinct. I really feel that, you know, there are drug factories here on the island. I almost have no doubt about that. With, you know, this drug everywhere, and then now it dropped, you know, in 3 months it dropped down to 80% of the costs. Come on, something's happening out there. You know, we're no fool. You know, so it went that cheap. So there has to be somebody here making that right here on our island.
Thank you.
So I just want to kind of, I know I'm kind of bringing this out, but it's something that I hope, you know, it opens up everybody's mind and try to face reality, because that's what's happening. So,
I think what all the law enforcement agree on, though, is that it's coming in through the borders. They all agree on that. They've never denied it. They say it's coming through the borders and that we have to stop it at the borders. So you see in the newspaper once in a while they stop it through the mail, but it's through the airlines, through the ports, that they're not stopping it. And that's really the facts. And so what you say might be true, but all the law enforcement will testify over and over again that it's coming through the borders, and they don't even deny that. So that's really our issue, is that it must be coming in massive amounts.
Thank you, Mr. Meno. And, you know, we have had a few different roundtables at the Guam Congress Hall with the Committee on Public Safety. And Chief Ignacio, I asked him how many major drug trafficking organizations there are on Guam, and Chief Ignacio said there was a handful. And so I know that it does seem like Matutude meth, right? Like it's just everywhere, and a lot of people are thinking that we probably have the labs here where they're cooking it. But in the roundtable, I was able to talk to, there was even some federal law enforcement that we were able to get some information from in a closed hearing. And basically they're saying that they really believe the large amount of the meth is coming through the Port Authority of Guam. But they're not able to bust it. And it's very frustrating. And so I asked the customs chief, what is the issue? If you know it's coming through the Port Authority of Guam, why can't you catch it? Because there hasn't been a significant drug bust at the Port Authority of Guam in many years. I mean, if there was a big bust down there, we would read about it in the news, it would be in the front page because there hasn't been one. But if you ask all the law enforcement, they say it's coming through the port because they're catching a lot of what's coming through the post office, right? And the airport, the airlines, there's a little more stringent check. But so when I asked the customs chief, he said, imagine you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. Now imagine there's 1,000 haystacks, right? But I'm trying to imagine, you know, a place where they're making these busts, and that's why we got to invest. You know, we got to invest in the law enforcement, because if you look at our border protection, when we had customs fully staffed, right now they're only 30% staffed. When they were fully staffed, the price of meth was many, many times higher. And over the years, as we've seen the number of Guam Police Department officers and the number of customs officers decrease, we've seen at that same time the cost of meth, the number of crimes that are related to drugs, and the prevalence of drug dealers and meth in our community rise. So, you know, it comes back to investing in the, you know, this in the law enforcement and catching these drugs at the border. And so it's very frustrating because we've applied, we've done a lot of the things that we're supposed to do, which is trying to apply with the federal government for this high-intensity drug trafficking area designation, but we've been denied every single time. But you know, when you talk to the federal law enforcement that we're able to get information from, they say that there are big investigations that are underway. And so you're right, the people of Guam, when they not just with the meth and how much meth is out here in the streets and how much crime, but when they see this catch and release, and when you hear about, you know, someone who committed a felony committing a felony while they're on release for committing a felony, yeah. Sometimes they end up getting hired down there, but people have lost hope in that. And you know, we're trying to figure out in the legislature how to introduce something that requires, I mean, these judges, I believe they're supposed to do that, conduct that risk assessment, but if they're not doing it, maybe there's a way that we can require it to be made public in some way, so that, you know, we got to hold these, I'm sorry, but we have to hold these judges accountable, because, you know, the Attorney General is making efforts to, and I think he's gotten into some real big battles with the judiciary, because he's trying to call out some of these judges who tend to do the catch and release more, right? So we're trying to work on it, but you've really given us a lot of good intel and good information to work on, Mr. Meno, so we thank you so much for your testimony tonight. Ma'am, you're right, these extended absences, whether they're due to medical illness or military deployment, I think that we need to do a better job at GDOE, because, you know, I've got kids in the public school system, and yeah, sometimes the teachers get deployed or they go on extended medical leave, and you end up with an entry-level substitute, sometimes only has a high school diploma, basically babysitting the class for $12 an hour, right? And so I think that the Guam Department of Education, this is something I'm going to talk with the superintendent about. They have to do a better job at the school sites, because I don't think this is something that downtown has the knowledge to deal with, right? Because I think at the school site it's probably more appropriate for them to move personnel. But yeah, we are dealing with a teacher shortage, but you know, across the government of Guam, I don't think that we should accept those answers at all. We just don't have enough officers, or we just don't have enough teachers, you know? We're dealing with these shortages, and it means we have to get creative in how we're using the resources that we do have. Ms. Malia, you're right, the PTOs have given so much tremendous assistance with our schools. I thought it was very interesting that as I was going around and touring the schools, and just again coming from a public school background, so many of the shortfalls with our government related to the education system are being picked up by the PTOs, right? And so, I mean, it's frustrating that you're talking about how do we train PTOs to become nonprofits. Why? So they can accept donations and do things that our government and our Guam Department of Education should be doing. So I commend all the PTOs, because it's a lot like the neighborhood watches, where our government has fallen short. The people of Guam continue to stand up and fill those gaps. And you're right, the PTOs could really donate and help a whole lot with our schools coming into compliance with Public Law 37-4. And so the acting superintendent has committed to come down to the legislature and give us monthly updates. I'll fully support Senator Lujan's bill. It sounds like a great way to keep the parents posted. I also have a bill that's, we had a public hearing on it. It's called the Safe School Facilities Act. And what this bill requires is, and again, this is going back to the tours of the schools when, you know, D.L. Perez had the flea infestation, Southern High had the mold infestation, Simon Sanchez had the rats, GW's gym was falling down. They have asbestos in the classrooms. We found out about these things by going to the school, and a lot of the parents and the students found out because we told them after we went to the school, and I don't think that's right. I think the Guam Department of Education has an obligation themselves to inform the students, the parents, the stakeholders, even the teachers and the staff of all the different risks and situations at all of the different public school sites. So, you know, I know I've got you on Facebook, but I'm gonna do my best to keep the public notified. I know that right now the Guam Department of Education is planning on doing a lot of the compliance work with Public Law 37-4 over the summer, right? And so I think that that's where, you know, because a lot of the kids are going to be out. I'm not sure how many kids are going to be going to summer school, but they're looking at ways to keep, I think, a lot of these summer school students online so that they're not at the school setting. I have questions about that and its impact on the learning loss, right, and how effective it's going to be. Maybe we need to concentrate and consolidate different sites where we can run a traditional face-to-face summer school program, maybe in certain schools, like you have some of a bigger school in the south, like, you know, for example, in Ilahan Middle School can handle summer school for the southern district, or maybe we could do something with bigger schools in the north. But that's when they're planning to do a lot of the compliance work, and so as I know, I'll be sure to publicize that out so that the PTOs can really get involved, right? Because I think you guys are going to play a key part, right? I don't think you should be doing all the work. Obviously, our government has got, you know, over $100 million to address coming into compliance, but, you know, sadly, that's not going to be enough money, and so we are going to need the entire community. It's going to take a whole of Guam approach. Right, it takes a village and it takes an island, and so I'm going to keep you posted on that, Miss Malia. And thank you guys for your testimony. We're going to go ahead and allow Mayor Mayor Tony Chargalov, to close out. And to everyone who attended, thank you so much for your testimony. Thank you so much for your hospitality. And we're going to be hitting that Balutan right after this. So. Mayor Chargalov, again, thank you, and we'd like to give you the opportunity to close the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so to take advantage of this, before I thank all of you for being here, let me just provide a little response. So Ms. Sil Timely brought up some things about the opportunities here. So I want to say that I do have a vision, and that vision is we have a 5 classrooms that are actually belonging to the mayor's office that's located up at the Ilahan Elementary School. I have secured over $700,000 to renovate these 5 classrooms. Of course, one of them we're going to convert into a conference center where anybody from the village is able to use it for whatever conferences. One of them is going to be used for a computer lab, which will address the needs of our community here in terms of internet services and printing and what have you, their homework. The last 2 is going to be utilized for what I'm calling a skill sets academy. The intent of it all is to bring in kids at the middle school level up to high school and allow for them to engage in a trades, whether it be plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, refrigeration, and the like. The truth is, Ilahan is in the median to low income bracket. And so understanding that, I want to be able to allow my people here in Ilahan the chance of surviving life. By that I mean many of the parents here, the households here, are not able to allow for their kids to transition right into the college or off island for higher learning. So with that, we want to be able to train our kids to get into the trades so that they they are able to survive life. We're giving them an opportunity to survive life. The idea behind it all is if we're able to provide a skill sets academy, and I'm in very heavy dialogue with Bert Johnson over at the Guam Trades Academy, and we're posturing ourselves that once these rooms are renovated, rehabilitated and are put into action. Bert has already more or less given me his word that he'll be able to provide us some instructors to start teaching the various trades that we need here in the island. The idea is, what I want is, upon graduation, I want these kids to be able to be very highly employable with the trade, understanding that not everybody's going to make it into the college life. And I say that because I'm one of them. You know, my mom and dad never finished 8th grade. My father ended up retiring as a bus driver, making a very minimal salary, right? So my venture into college was cut short because we didn't have the means, the financial means for me to follow through. Quite honestly, my whole goal, my whole dream was to become a lawyer, but that never materialized. I only wish my parents, and as the saying goes, I struggled and I suffered. That was my parents' fault as a child. But as an adult, if I continuously struggle, that's all my fault. So of course, I've taken a whole optimistic view. But again, that's when I wanted to let Ms. Sil Timelu know that I do have plans, and once we're literally waiting, I've gotten word that the contract to renovate the portion of the wing of the Inland Elementary School is sitting at the AG's office for his review. With regards to Mr. Victor, who was applauding that, you know, his area now is well lit and what have you. When I first took over, my wife and I did an assessment throughout the entire village. We literally found 80 street lights that we are paying for that were not working. We got those 80 street lights working, and as of last month, I've submitted a request to Guam Power Authority to install 118 new street lights. 118 new street lights. We all know that darkness sometimes become an opportunity for crimes to occur. Lighting up those 118 that I've requested obviously is going to become a very big deterrent. So again, we are on this path to try to make Inalahan, and hopefully the entire island, if everybody kind of jumps on board and takes the same approach, that I'm almost certain that we can actually change the way the villages are looked at, the way the villages are run right now. So again, those are kind of some of the opportunities I wanted to also address. I'm not sure who brought it up, one or two, but entering, after you pass Surfside, the bridge, and heading up toward Talafofo, that intersection has become very problematic. I have witnessed various times accidents that occurred simply because the tourists do not understand that there's a left turn that takes you up Talafofo and then a right side that takes you all the way through. I'm working right now with GVB, and I want to report this, that I'm working with GVB right now to create signs, more or less interpreted signs that can relate to Korean, Taiwanese, Japanese, and any other entity any other ethnic groups that decide to make this become a part of their tour. So I'm working with GVB. I want to personally take charge of this, install the signs that basically says left lane merges, right lane you come to a stop before you merge. Before you continue your path. So again, these are some of the things that I'm doing. I'm hopeful that I want to accomplish. You know, one thing about me is I literally want everything yesterday. As a matter of fact, I always tell my staff, I wish I had 1,000 men because I have 10,000 things I want to get done today. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with 8. And you know, we've done so much in a very short order. But imagine how much more can be done if we were able to be given the kind of monies that we need to really move not just this village, but this whole island forward, right? So again, you know, I know somebody had kind of brought this up that, you know, imagine neighborhood watch right now, and Inalahan is a very vibrant neighborhood watch. Rick Meno and I were the first ones that kind of started this. I believe it's back in we were a part of this startup back in 2017. And some of our challenges is that we want to post up signs, so I've taken upon myself to print out a lot of this neighborhood watch signs that people post on their homes. But imagine if there was an opportunity to subsidize, provide some kind of financial means to allow the neighborhood watch, those that are very actively engaged with the community. Imagine the things, right now I have volunteers here, and Rick can attest to this. We have volunteers, retirees that are saying, hey, if we had a dedicated vehicle, we can actually do, the neighborhood watch and do the stroll patrol, as you will, and be able to identify areas of concern, what have you. Unfortunately, we don't have that mechanism. We don't have the resources to provide a vehicle dedicated strictly to do that. While we are augmenting the shortage of the GPD, I believe that, if we were given that level of resource, even a used vehicle, so take, for example, if GPD decides that one vehicle has done more than it's required of, but it's still got 2 years of life, then man, give it up to the neighborhood watch so that we can utilize it and take even a more proactive approach to try to deterring crimes. So again, the opportunity exists for us to be better, and like you folks up here, you senators, speakers, senators, I know you all want to make a difference. As a mayor, I do too. And unfortunately, my hands sometimes are tied because of whether it be the mechanisms to provide the resources to make this become a more viable community. That's up to discussion. But nonetheless, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Again, like I said, it's a Friday night. My wife and I are usually out at a bar doing some drinking or whatever, right? But we're drinking water here. But more importantly, I want to say thank you very much, really, for sacrificing your time, hearing the concerns of our village. They say no news is good news. Unfortunately, we have some, but we do have a larger community that didn't show up, and maybe perhaps it's because they have the level of confidence in the current 37 Guam legislature, perhaps in the current mayor, and I do intend to continue bringing what's good here in Inalan. So again, you've heard some of the concerns, you've heard some of my ideas, and I may be coming to you someday, sooner rather than later, to help me find the solution, find the monies that I need to make sure that we move forward and progress and ultimately make, not just Inalan, but make the entire Guam a better place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Melissa, Uncle Ernest, Mayor Ernest Chargaloff. Thank you so much. Also to the people of Inalan and the people of Melissa who've so generously hosted us tonight. Your hospitality is going to be very legendary as we go around the rest of the island, because you guys have set the bar way up here. And you're right, Mayor, you do have a lot of great ideas that we're going to take back to the People's House to hopefully hammer out into solutions. Again, thank you for all of your testimony. I'm very inspired by, what is it Uncle Victor said? You have made Inalahan shine again, and that's what we want to do for the rest of the island as well. We all want to be shining so bright that we have to wear shades. So thank you again for attending this Voices of the Village Community Caucus with the Committee on Public Safety, Education, and the Arts. We now convene this hearing at 9:36 p.m. Chamorro Standard Time on Friday, April 21st. On behalf of my colleagues, can we give my colleagues a big round of applause? Thank you again to Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Jesse Lujan, Speaker Therese Terlahi. And this just goes to show, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We're here to listen to the people. It doesn't matter what political party we're from. We're all here, whether elephants or donkeys, your concerns are very real to us. So thank you so much again. And this has been Voices of the Village Community Caucus. Guahusi Senator Chris Barnett está. Adios.